The contemporary piece of media that I chose to analyze is the mystery film Knives Out from 2019. This film was written and directed by Rian Johnson. It was produced by Rian Johnson and Ram Bergman. The cinematography was done by Steve Yedlin, the editing was done by Bob Duxay, and the film's score was composed by Rian Johnson's cousin Nathan Johnson. The film was distributed by Lionsgate. Wanting to take a modern twist on the whodunit film genre, Johnson's interest in Agatha Christie stories inspired him to write this film. He then focused his creative efforts on creating Star Wars The Last Jedi from 2017. Development of Knives Out continued the following year, and he wrote this screenplay in 6 to 7 months. Johnson said he devised a framework of tonal shifts throughout the film to increase the tension between the characters, and certain aspects of the film are connected with his experience with handling the culture war backlash of Star Wars The Last Jedi. In press interviews for the film, Johnson stated that the central story neither condemns nor subscribes to any single ideology, but it was rather designed to provoke the audience to contemplate. The film begins with the family of Harlan Thrombey at his 85th birthday party at his Massachusetts estate. The next morning, the housemaid Fran, played by Edie Patterson, discovers the deceased body of Harlan Thrombey with a slit throat. Harlan Thrombey is played by Christopher Plummer. Police detectives Lieutenant Elliott and Trooper Wagner believe that he committed suicide. Harlan was a wealthy white man known for being a famous best-selling mystery writer. Private Detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, is anonymously hired to investigate this case. Blanc soon discovers that Harlan had cold, distant relatives with the members of his family, giving them all feasible motives to murder him. Throughout most of the film, Harlan's nurse, Marta Cabrera, played by Ana de Armas, believes that she accidentally killed him with a lethal dose of morphine. Marta is a kind-hearted, good-natured Hispanic woman. In the end, it turns out that Hugh Ransom, known as Ransom Drysdale, played by Chris Evans, is actually the one who committed the murder, hoping to incriminate Marta. Ransom is a privileged, devious leech of a person. I chose this piece of media to analyze because I'd heard really good things about it but had never seen it. As I watched it, it was engaging, the characters were all not necessarily likable, but easy to empathize with and relate to and connect with in some way. And the characters were really well fleshed out, and it was a very plot-oriented story, which is typical for classic mystery stories, and it included both comedic and dramatic elements, which I found the balance to work well. The mysterious build-up throughout the story created an unsettling atmosphere for sure. The heavy breathing, twitching, and crying experienced by Marta at certain points added to that mysterious, uneasy vibe. She also throws up whenever she lies, which is a unique and specific characteristic that comes into play in the story, and I liked that addition to the story. The whole story unravels in an interesting way that kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Other characters throughout the story that are inherently suspects on this case, that are family members of Harlan Thrombey, include Linda Drysdale, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, which is Harlan's eldest daughter, Richard Drysdale, played by Don Johnson, Linda's husband, Walt Thrombey, played by Michael Shannon, Harlan's youngest son, Joni Thrombey, played by Toni Collette, the widow of Harlan's deceased son Neil, Donna Thrombey, played by Ricky Lindholm, Walt's wife, Jacob Thrombey, played by Jaden Martell, Walt's son, and Meg Thrombey, played by Catherine Langford, Joni's daughter. Also, Alan Stevens, played by Frank Oz, Harlan's counsel. One aspect of the story is that Harlan was contributing money toward Meg's college tuition, and Joni, Meg's mother, took advantage of that and started taking money for herself. We learn later that Ransom is the one who anonymously hired Benoit Blanc to investigate the case, hoping to incriminate Marta. Ransom is an evidently racist, awful person who felt threatened by Marta's relationship with Harlan, as well as the fact that she is a lowly, undocumented Hispanic immigrant who's Harlan's nurse and seems to have nothing wrong with her. Plus, she is meant to inherit Harlan's fortune. The film ends in a satisfying way with Ransom being taken away by the police as Marta watches him be taken away by the police, and this is all after Ransom confesses to Fran's murder after he poisons Fran, the housemaid, hoping to incriminate Marta again. Knives Out has been seen as a piece of media that examines wealth inequality, class warfare, immigration, and race in contemporary American society. As I mentioned, Marta and her family are undocumented immigrants. According to Thomas Palmer 2020, Knives Out has all the elements of a typical murder mystery with a modern twist. The story is told through the eyes of an immigrant nurse, Marta Cabrera, who plays by her own rules. She tells the story in the way that makes the audience question America's political state and the way they live their lives, end quote, paragraph 1. Furthermore, the author states, quote, Marta is only considered a part of the family when it is convenient, end quote, paragraph 18. The author of this article also explains how drastically Marta contrasts the Thrombeys throughout the film. Marta is kind, selfless and good-hearted and literally cannot lie or else she throws up, making her completely honest. The Thrombies, on the other hand, act mostly selfishly and deviously throughout the film. The same article ends with, quote, Marta's story is a call to action. It urges us to admit as much kindness into the world as we can instead of comparing ourselves to others and trying to beat those who oppose us. It urges us to build a beautiful life, end quote, paragraph 30. This film fits within the mystery genre by using classic components of classic mystery fiction. To begin, the story is very plot-oriented, as many classic mysteries are. Yes, the characters are very well fleshed out and thought out, but the plot is really what drives the story along. The film has the audience believing one thing in one moment, and then the next moment it'll show something to throw the audience off. Something that this film does that kind of diverges away from typical mystery storytelling is the way it's structured and formatted. According to A Daniel Film 2019, quote, this film is unique in that the murder is solved in the first 45 minutes. We spend the first act getting to know the principal characters, then we start making our own assumptions and guesses at the culprit. Then Johnson just hands us the answer. It had me genuinely surprised for all the right reasons. I thought I would be chasing Johnson's trail the whole time while he's 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, but instead I was left reeling and trying to recompose myself to figure out where the story could possibly be going next. The character Benoit Blanc is a fun little red herring at the beginning. We think we'll be seeing the film from his eyes, but instead we spend the entire second half hoping he doesn't figure out what we already know. That's such a clever reversal of how these stories usually go, and also makes the ending more impactful once we drop our guard and think we know exactly what's happening, end quote, paragraph 2. The author of this article goes on to say, quote, I like what the final reveal is doing on paper. While we believe we have put all the pieces together already, Johnson throws one more curveball in there to append what we thought we knew happened. First, we are told he committed suicide. Then we are led to suspect that Harlan was murdered. Then we discover that his nurse accidentally overdosed him and he did in fact commit suicide to cover it up for her. Then at the very end, we learn that he hasn't overdosed at all and the renegade grandson tried to stage it so the nurse appeared guilty of murder. All of these curveballs and the entire tone and mood of the film really reek of classic mystery storytelling. According to Reed 2023, Knives Out played a part in reviving the mystery genre. Quote, before Knives Out, the Agatha Christie-inspired cozy mysteries had waned in popularity, overshadowed by gritty detective stories that emphasized realism and dark psychological themes. Knives Out, however, sparked renewed interest in lighthearted yet thrilling mysteries. Rian Johnson's film retains many of the cozy mysteries elements while innovatively shifting perspectives using irony and making self-referential jokes, end quote. After the inciting incident of Harlan's demise and probable murder, Blanc shows interest in Marta as an assistant to help him with solving this case. Marta still believes she's the killer at this point, and again, she cannot lie without throwing up, so she's in a bit of a tricky situation right now. She hesitantly agrees to help Blanc. At the midpoint of the story, it comes time for Harlan's will to be read, so his family members naturally expect to receive quite a bit of money from his will. However, Harlan left everything he owned to Marta. The family is furious and starts to chase Marta, but Ransom gets her out of there. Ransom's kind facade quickly fades, and he gets Marta to confess to the murder. He agrees to help her cover it up and get away with it if he gets a bit of the money that she inherited. She agrees. Marta then receives a blackmail letter with a partial photocopy of Harlan's toxicology report, which will presumably incriminate her. Ransom drives her to the coroner's office just to find out that it's been burnt down. Marta then receives an email to meet the blackmailer. At the location in the email, Fran's body is found, and the police catch Marta and Ransom at the scene of the crime. At this point, Marta is feeling really low and wants to confess to Harlan's murder. However, with the help of Marta, Blanc is able to find the original copy of the toxicology report that showcases that Harlan actually didn't overdose on morphine, so Marta didn't poison him or kill him. During the final moments back in the interviewing room, Blanc reveals what has truly happened after piecing together all of the clues that he's collected. Ransom was behind everything, hoping to incriminate Marta so that she would lose out on Harlan's inheritance. And he's the one who anonymously hired Blanc to investigate the case. Ransom is then arrested, and as I said, Marta inherits all of Harlan's fortune and estate. She sips on her coffee in Harlan's coffee mug, which reads, "My house, my rules, my coffee." As she sips her coffee, she modestly scrutinizes all of the affluence that she's evidently taken aback to have inherited, but that she clearly deserves after all she's done and gone through. So I decided to include the last scene of Knives Out in this presentation because I felt like it included a lot of the mystery elements that I've just been discussing, as well as it has a conclusion that really is fitting for a mystery story, and it comes really full circle and includes a lot of symbolism and things that were referenced earlier in the film, and I just feel like it's a really powerful final scene of the film. Furthermore, at the very end, Marta decides to keep everything for herself, signified by all of the family members looking up at her, which shows a lot of character development in Marta.
Did you know I had something to do with Harlan's death?
Oh, from the first moment you set foot in front of me. I want you to remember something that's very important. You won, not by playing the game Harlan's way, but yours. But I have a feeling you'll follow your heart.
That's going to be it for my Knives Out analysis presentation. Thank you so much for watching.